Okay, Nvidia just announced something that should make every single one of us extremely nervous right now. A chip design task that would take 8 engineers months to finish was just done in the span of a night. And the craziest thing is, it was done by one GPU. Just one. And that's not even the biggest thing they announced. They dropped 6 new AI chips as well, a quantum computing breakthrough, and basically told the entire world they're building the foundation for every single thing that AI runs on. So let me break down exactly what this means. So when Nvidia designs a new GPU, there's a step called porting a standard cell library. It's this really detailed, technical, repetitive work. And you can see actually here in the article as well, what previously took 8 engineers 10 months to complete can now be done by a single GPU overnight. It's pretty crazy in my opinion. I had to take a minute here in darkness to just let that sit in. It's just, this is crazy. Anyway, but even though Nvidia said they're trying everything in their power to use AI wherever they can in their design process, and well, they would probably love to have AI do everything because of the cost that it saves, they're not really that far into the process, and at this point, it's not really that far yet where you don't need humans anymore in the process. So these 8 engineers will probably not be put on the same task anymore, but it doesn't just mean all of a sudden everybody's fired, boom, AI is here to take over. It just means that people's tasks and, well, priorities have now been shifted yet again. Nvidia themselves said they're a very long way from having these AI designed chips without any human input whatsoever. And the more I start thinking about AI, the more I start realizing that that indeed is what's happening right now in our world. There's basically this shift happening from us being or having to do every single part to AI being able to overtake now the easier task or the really annoying steps that are really boring, so the people can now focus on the more important tasks. And I guess this line is going to keep going further and further as time goes on. But even though this story is quite dramatic, the actual product announcement may matter more over the long term. Because Nvidia just made a pretty hefty announcement with their Nvidia Vera Rubin. It's their next generation AI platform with 6 new chips and a completely new AI supercomputer. And here's exactly why that matters. Even if you're not a hardware person, you've probably used some of these AI tools before. Claude, ChatGPT, Midjourney, basically everything runs on Nvidia hardware. When Nvidia makes faster chips, your AI gets faster. So if you want a response, it's gonna be faster. More complex tasks are gonna be possible. You wanna generate an image, it's all gonna be faster. And for all of this, Rubin is basically like the next leap. We went from the H100s to the Blackwell chips, and now, well, Rubin is gonna be the next generation after that. Each single one of these steps also means that the AI can now do tasks that were previously too expensive or it was too slow for. So every single time that we're upgrading the chips right here, the new outcomes are so exponential, and it's hard for the human mind to grasp, I think, just how much this is opening up. And so if you're wondering what exactly that means practically, just think about where AI was just a few years ago, right? I remember talking to these freaking AI platforms to generate me a picture, and it looked like absolute garbage. Just think the leaps we've made over the past year, and I think again, one further year out. Anyway, the most important thing that people are missing is that Nvidia is not just this like chip company anymore. They're basically the company that everything in AI is built on. And right now, especially if you're a stock guy, you'll realize they're basically the picks and shovels of this gold rush. Why? Well, quantum computing feels as if it's always like a few years away, like maybe 5 years away. But obviously the railroads are being built right now as we speak. And what this Ising is basically all about, Ising is designed to help build better quantum processors. You can do quantum error correction 2.5 times faster and 3 times more accurately than traditional methods. And if you're wondering what all this means for you right now, well, pretty much nothing. Right now, as we speak, quantum computing ain't really a concern for anybody. Maybe if you're in crypto, you've heard about it once here and there, or maybe if you're really into tech, you realize that it's coming closer and closer, but to most people's daily lives, this really ain't nothing. The crazier thing is, when it does arrive, it's going to make all this AI right now feel like a freaking, computer calculator, basically. And Nvidia right now, as we stand, is trying to also own that entire layer. An interesting take would be, like, is Nvidia building like a monopoly of sorts right now? And is that good? Is that bad? Are they getting too much power in this AI realm? Or is it logical because, well, if they're the ones selling the shovels and the picks at the start, it's not that crazy that they built out a really freaking proper tool company, right? And so as the mines keep getting bigger and better, right, the tools also have to upgrade, but by that logic, if that tool company becomes really successful, just kind of makes sense. And it's public, we can all invest. Let's draw some conclusions though. Here's what I would take away. If you're in tech, the AI can't do my job or that type of idea and thinking is slowly fading away. Because just because it can't do it yet, doesn't mean it's not going to be able to do it in the near future. I mean, what took 8 top engineers at Nvidia months to do has now been replaced by 1 GPU. And I don't think those guys really thought they were going to be replaced this soon or by this big a margin. I mean, the whole economical model there to replace people with computers is just going to make more and more sense, especially as these models get cheaper, which is an interesting point. Some people say they will only get more expensive as they've got more parameters and the pressure is going to be higher, but it's a double-edged sword. Where on the one hand, companies like Anthropic can make things way more expensive over time as they, well, get more control and you need it more than they need you. On the opposite side, as more and more of these open source models that I talked about in the previous video get popular, the more pricing pressure there is going to be because, well, it's going to be more and more of a way off, especially because more and more companies will eventually be able to play some sort of catch up. But also on the opposite side, if you are a person that uses AI tools, it's quite logical to assume right now that every single jump that Nvidia makes in their hardware is also going to make your entire flow cheaper, more efficient, faster. The Claude you're using today will be noticeably faster in 6 months from now. And a big part of that will be because the hardware that it runs on has gotten better. Now, if you're an investor or you're a person that's paying a lot of attention to the markets, remember, Nvidia isn't just selling chips. They're becoming like this infrastructure layer for everything: cloud AI, edge AI, quantum, robotics, self-driving, all running on their hardware. And that's a pretty good position to be in, you know? I'd like to be the freaking guy behind that. Now, the companies that own the infrastructure, they tend to win over the longer term. And oh boy, does Nvidia know this. Everything they basically announced this week is all kind of meant to be a showcase of, hey, if you're doing anything in AI, you can't do it without us. Anyway, I think that was the biggest highlight of the week. You know, whatever Nvidia is doing right now, it's a big deal. It's going to affect every single one of us, especially if you like AI or you've been using AI or you've got a tech job. This stuff will affect you. But matter of fact, even if you're just a crypto holder, this will affect you a lot as well over time because, well, quantum computing is becoming a lot more real now that these guys are intervening. Having said that, I think that was the update for today. If you guys are interested in AI news, AI updates, or how I'm using my AI tools, make sure you press that like button or subscribe to the channel if that's something you're interested in. And I'll see you guys again in another one somewhere, hopefully tomorrow. I'm going to be posting on this channel every single day. I will not skip a day, so see you guys tomorrow.